The Gen 5 fossil Pokemon, Archen, Archeops, Carracosta, and Tirtouga. I'm pronouncing all 4 of those wrong. Let's try that again. Archen, Archeops, Carracosta, and Tirtouga. I'm going to mess up these pronunciations every time I say them, I just know it. But looking at Tirtouga here, the turt comes from turtle, and Tortuga just means turtle in Spanish. Its name means turtle! So question, why is a turtle that is this much a turtle a fossil Pokemon? As I've mentioned in the previous fossil videos, each of the fossil Pokemon so far have a good reason for being a fossil Pokemon, rather than just being another Pokemon that's based on an extinct thing. The best example being Omanyte, based on the most common fossil, period. Or Anorith, based on the first apex predator. Yes, really. And if you know about Archen, you can probably guess what it's doing here. Even the Pokédex states that it is the first bird Pokemon. But Tirtouga? Okay. Yeah. Whatever you say. So, what are these Pokemon based on? Why are they here, and why are they fossil Pokemon? That's today's video. Archen, revived from a plume fossil, gets its name from the Archean period. I mean, that's a single letter off. Though, the Archean period is between 2.5 and 4.5 billion years ago. Yeah, with a B. It's the time period the Earth cooled down just enough for continents to form. And towards the end, microbial life decided to just be a thing. So yeah, this is way before dinosaurs even. Pokemon, are you stupid? Though perhaps linking it to the Archean period is more coincidental rather than intentional, as the word has the same root word as the exact dinosaur that Archen is based on, which is likely where it really gets its name. I'd like to introduce you to the Archeopteryx, a proto-bird from the Tithonian Age, aka the very end of the Jurassic epoch, from about 150.8 to 148.5 million years ago. Like the Archean period, the Archeopteryx pulls the archaea part of the word from the Greek archaios, meaning ancient. Archeopteryx literally means ancient wing, and that's because that's what it has. Wings so ancient, they were the first that we knew of at the time. At first, this was lauded as the missing link between birds and dinosaurs, and it was said to be the first dinosaur with flight. And actually, none of that is true. It's just what they thought at the time. And to give Game Freak credit, at the time of Pokemon Black and White's development, the Archeopteryx was still widely believed to be the first bird-like dinosaur. But since then, earlier species have been found and have become more common knowledge, like the Xiaotingya and Orornis. Also, despite how the Archeopteryx was once considered a distant ancestor to all modern birds, since more studies have been done, paleontologists now know that this is not the case at all, so the Pokédex saying Archen is the first bird Pokemon can very well justifiably be retconned in the future, if Game Freak so chooses. These days, paleontologists swing between the Archeopteryx being an early, dead-end branch of avian evolution that's close to modern birds, and Archaeopteryx is in the Deinonychosauria avales closest sister group. The only thing that they can agree on, though, is that it for sure was not the first dinosaur to evolve flight or feathers, and that it definitely didn't lead to modern birds. So much for Archen's cool points. But it's not all bad. They're still cool. In fact, if we look closely at Archeops' leggies, we see that they've got them apple-bottom jeans and boots with the fur. I mean, they have very distinct feathers sticking out of the backs of their legs, almost like a second pair of wings, and strangely enough, that was a thing in avian history. This dinosaur, Anchiornis huxleyi, a Paravian dinosaur that lived 160 million years ago, which, funnily, is also older than our beloved Archeopteryx. The Bavarian there means it's part of the group of dinosaurs that includes the smaller feathered dinosaurs like Deinonychus, Archaeopteryx, Troodons, and the Aviolon, aka modern birds. And the coolest part? Anchiornis' back legs were in fact a second pair of wings. You see four-winged alien birds in movies all the time, but it was a real thing. They just died because it's not as good. It's only 2. And the fact that studying flying paravians like Inchiornis and Archaeopteryx is so fundamentally important to our understanding of the evolution of birds as a whole, it makes sense that these are fossil Pokemon specifically, rather than just Pokemon based on extinct things, and that's really cool. And also super cool fun fact, Archeops is the only Pokemon to have its base stat total be the exact same as its national dex number. And that's an important point, because it's a really cool little Easter egg. You see, the Dewey Decimal number 567.9 is the code number for feathered dinosaurs, and if you don't know, the Dewey Decimal System is how libraries across the world organize their knowledge, organize their books. So, in any library across the world you go to section 567.9, you'll find books on feathered dinosaurs. Oh, Archen, your feathers are so soft. They feel almost like my pillow at home, the Helix Dream Pillow from today's sponsor, Helix Sleep. It's so lovely and squishy soft. Oh, I just want to mash it. Listen, do you have bones? Then you probably want a mattress that doesn't hurt those bones, no matter how much roughhousing or sleeping slightly crooked you do on it. That's why I love my Helix mattress. It's 4 years old, holding up great, and still comfy as a bean. I don't know what that means, but it's just what popped into my head, just like this flashback you're going into now. I still remember taking their sleep quiz, telling them about me and my wife's sleeping preferences and body types so that they could match us to the perfect mattress. We wound up getting the Midnight Lux for that medium feel and side sleeper support. And it's got a built-in cooling cover, which effectively pulls heat away from your body for the most comfortable sleep ever. Seriously, my wife is a volcano. She ended the Ice Age. She killed the dinosaurs. But sleep has never been better for us now. And the whole process was worry-free too, because not only does Helix deliver for free, but it also comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up yourself. And even then, Helix has a 100-night sleep trial, so you can get more than 3 months to make sure that you love it. And if you don't, they'll pick it up for you and give you a full refund. I bet the dinosaurs wished they could have done that with their delivery. Instead, they all got put to bed. So hey, if you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix. You can click the link below or go to helixsleep.com/Lockstin and get up to $200 off of your Helix mattress. Oh, look, Archen likes the mattress. Sorry though, bud, we gotta look at your muzzle. Now, Archen's muzzle area and the fact that it's obviously different from the rest of the head and body in both color and composition seems to be a reference to how modern paleo artists usually portray dromaeosaurs as having almost a beak, but not quite, which is different from the rest of the face, or having a face that is different from the neck down, which is accurate to our current understanding of what they most likely looked like based on CAT scans and skin and feather impressions and such. Also, Archen's muzzle looks cracked, and reminds me of how cracked and piecemeal fossils often are, especially the skulls themselves. Now then, Archeops are described as intelligent and will cooperate to catch prey, which, while popularized by Jurassic Park as a thing raptor dinosaurs did, it is most likely false, according to more recent studies. But since that study didn't get officially published until the beginning of this pandemic, let's give Game Freak a pass there. But Archeops is also said to use a running start to take flight, while Archen were unable to fly and moved about by hopping from one branch to another, which are kind of the opposite of each other. Wait, it's not Archen or Archeops, it's Archen and Archeops, right?
Archen! Stop!
Anime! But if you think about it from a theories about avian evolution angle, it makes perfect sense. In the study of bird evolution, there are 2 main theories about how birds evolved flight. They are known as the ground-up, or cursorial model, and the trees-down, or arboreal model. And according to Scientific American, the 2 theories can be explained as thus. Traditionally, scholars have advanced 2 theories for how bird flight evolved. One of these, dubbed the arboreal model, holds that it developed in a tree-dwelling ancestor that was built for gliding and started flapping to extend its airtime. The other, known as the cursorial theory, posits that flight arose in small, bipedal terrestrial theropod dinosaurs that sped along the ground with arms outstretched and leaped into the air while pursuing prey or evading predators. Feathers on their forelimbs enhanced lift, thereby allowing the creatures to take wing. Each possibility seems to describe something similar to Archen and Archeops respectively, which is really cool, but which of these 2 theories is the correct one? Well, every few years a new study comes out that proves that one is correct, but then another paleontologist comes out with another study shortly afterwards saying just how wrong that last guy was, and so on and so forth. The paleontology field has some serious drama issues. So let's get away from that. Now on to non-dinosaur inspirations. And yes, there are some. Potentially. Theoretically. Meet Khufu, 4th dynasty pharaoh in ancient Egypt. The pharaoh who most likely had the Great Pyramid of Giza built. You know, the tallest man-made structure until basically modern times. Anyway, Cheops, spelled Cheops but pronounced Cheops, is how the ancient Greeks referred to Khufu. However, one of his names being Cheops isn't the only reason it's an inspiration for Archeops. A lot of depictions in Khufu's name in ancient Egypt use both birds and snakes in the hieroglyphics, including in his cartouche, which was basically an oval with the most important way to represent the pharaoh's name inside of it. And Archeops' design is very obviously a bird with some snake-like qualities, namely its head and neck, which really isn't a snake just a head and a neck, so it's like a whole snake, but then coming out of a chicken? Either way, it looks like a red Ekans on a fat bird. Also, in ancient Egypt, birds and snakes, especially when referenced together, were very important and denoted the pharaonic ability and or right to rule. Throughout the thousands of years of ancient Egyptian civilization, pharaohs and queens would wear headdresses or crowns that represented Wadjet, the cobra goddess, who was the matron and protector of Lower Egypt. Which was actually Northern Egypt, because ancient Egypt didn't have the same ideas of North and South as modern societies do. As well as Nekhbet, the vulture goddess that was the matron and protector of Upper Egypt. Southern Egypt to us modern people. Sometimes they were depicted separately, but they were usually together to represent that the pharaoh ruled over both Upper and Lower Egypt. Even in dynastic periods where that wasn't necessarily true. The fact that the sex ratio for this line is 87.5% male and 12.5% female could be a reference to its ancient Egyptian pharaoh inspirations, given that almost all pharaohs were male, with female pharaohs being an extreme outlier. There's no reason for this ratio to be this way otherwise. You know? But speaking of bird-snake hybrids, there's another thing from ancient history that Archeops is definitely a nod to, at least. Mesoamerican feathered serpents, which include Quetzalcoatl, a deity from Aztec beliefs, Kukulkan, a Yucatec Maya deity, and a few more deities too. Mesoamerican feathered serpents were also known as vision serpents, and Maya mythology describes serpents as being the vehicles by which celestial bodies, such as the sun and stars, cross the heavens. The shedding of their skin makes them a symbol of rebirth and renewal as well, which is kind of the whole point of fossil Pokemon, is it not? You're reviving them. Oh gosh, we're so far into the video and I've not really mentioned the other two at all. Oh, does that just mean they're just turtles? Oh no, they're just dead turtles! Tirtouga and Carracosta, that is how they pronounce it in the anime for some reason, are both based mostly on huge extinct sea turtles, Protostega and Archelon, respectively. And when I say huge, I mean huge. Archelon is the biggest turtle, extinct or otherwise, that we've found so far, like, at all, with Protostega as a fairly close second place. Both Archelon and Protostega lived during the late Cretaceous period, about 80 million years ago, with Archelon surviving until about 74 million years ago. And they are both part of the same family, the Protostegidae family, all of which are extinct. Originally, Archelon was thought to be the ancestor of modern leatherback sea turtles, because, I mean, look at them. They look and function similarly, but modern understanding puts them into a completely unrelated, extinct lineage to any living turtles. And I didn't just bring that up as a fun fact, it's actually very related to both mon. The coloring and body shape of both of them look very similar to modern leatherback turtles, with Tirtouga being a baby one. These strange indents on both Pokemon's shells may be a reference to the fact that the turtle fossils are basically just bone, and the structure of the fossil shell area looks similar, especially to Carracosta. Then, the front of Carracosta's shell resembles a bulletproof vest, Fitting since it's such a defensive mon, a very tanky turtle, and both mons' heads look like a protective helmet or protective visor. And that, combined with the dark blue color scheme, are reminiscent of police or SWAT uniforms, which makes sense since Unova is based on New York, and New York City famously has a contender for the most well-known police force in the world, the NYPD, with enough employees to be a small military force, and US police budgets and size are notoriously unimaginably large and rising despite crime being at a near all-time low, meaning they have to be raising it for some other reason, right? Maybe it's to combat the steady incline of your pet dogs. From behind, Carracosta's shell also looks kind of like a hand grenade, but maybe that's just me. Tirtouga's front flippers, having these dark blue pieces on them, make it look kinda like elbow pads. Another thing that highly swatted up police wear with the rest of their gear. And since according to its dex entry, Carracosta's incredible jaw strength enables them to chew up steel beams and rocks along with their prey, that just cements in the idea that they're based on Archelon, since Archelon had a beak perfectly fit for its diet of mostly hard-shelled crustaceans and steel beams, whereas Protostega, Tirtouga's inspiration, probably mostly ate soft things like modern leatherback sea turtles do. So now it's time for the big question. Why is it worthy of being a fossil Pokemon instead of just a sea turtle Pokemon with some extinct sea turtle elements thrown in? The best answer I have is that is a very good question. But yeah, I guess it does have a reason. I feel like it may be the weakest out of all of the fossil Pokemon we've talked about on this channel so far though, and there's only one generation of them left to talk about. Though Gen 9, the Iberian Peninsula, so many famous fossils were found there. But yeah, so why? Well, continental drift. Continental drift refers to how, over billions of years, continents have moved. There's so much evidence for it, but the idea wasn't really a thing until the early 20th century, and it was very controversial at the time too. But what that has to do with our sea turtles here is that they were used as some of the many, many bits of evidence for it. In the late 19th century, these turtle fossils were discovered in Kansas and Dakota. Look at these places and tell me why there are so many sea turtle bones here. We know now that it's because of the Western Interior Seaway. It's where they lived. But the continent continued to rise, and so the sea went away. No wonder the sea turtles died, they kind of need that. So, yeah, technically, they helped form our understanding of the prehistoric world, but like, not much, because there are tens of thousands of other fossilized species that helped us just as much, if not more. So it's like, hey, I was involved in the production of this movie too. Where the heck is my credit in the credits section?
Oh, what did you do?
I bought the producer coffee. Once. In his office. He wasn't on the set at the time. But yeah, I helped. And wow, that is, it. As far as I can tell. So I guess we'll just finish off with etymology. Similar to how Tirtouga has Tortuga, which is Spanish for turtle, the Costa in Carracosta is Spanish for coast, which is where it lives. And like how Archen references the Archean period, the Carra or Carra in Carracosta's name is referencing the famous Carrara fossil formation, the oldest parts of which formed 1.7 billion years ago. It's a large formation of fossils in the Death Valley and southern Nevada region. So, fitting enough that this Pokemon is in Unova, the United States, but also very fitting of the Spanish root words in their names. So hey, did you learn something? Did I mispronounce or get something wrong? I can guarantee you I did, but I won't lose sleep over it because I've got a nice Helix mattress, and you can click the link below or go to helixsleep.com/Lockstin and get up to $200 off of your Helix mattress by doing so. Thanks for watching, and never stop using your noggin.